In this tutorial, we're going to solve problems with After Effects. Let's get to it. The first problem is After Effects crashes. It behaves in a way that you weren't expecting. What to do? Well, I think the first thing that you should do is delete the preferences. So this is how you do that. If you are on a Mac, press and hold Shift, Option, and Command. If you are on Windows, put your fingers on top of Shift, Control, and Alt, but don't press down. I am on Windows. I'm using my Dell Workstation Precision 5770, and here we go. I'm going to put my fingers on top of those three keys. Remember, Shift, Control, and Alt. And now I'm going to start After Effects. As soon as I start After Effects, I'm going to press and hold those three keys. Boom. I'm pressing and holding, and now I get something that says, are you sure you want to delete your preferences files? Click OK. 99% of the time, this is all you need to do. After After Effects starts, if you're still having issues, do this. Go to Edit, Purge, All Memory and Disk Cache. This is not going to have too much because I just did it, so I'll click OK, but I'm willing to bet that if you do this, you're going to have a lot of files. All right, let's start a new project. The next issue you may have is, oh, Luisa, I can't really change the workspace too much. If I click on a panel and I drag it, I can resize the panel and all of that, but I can't really put the panel wherever I want. So if this happens, I want you to click on the panel name and notice the little preview. If it looks like a trapezoid and you release, then that panel goes in between the other two. If it looks like a rectangle and you release, then it becomes part of that panel set. The problem is when you want a floating panel. If you are on a Mac, press and hold Command. If you are on Windows, like I am, press and hold Control, click on the panel's name, and drag it out. Now you have a floating panel. If you want to dock it back, click on the name of the panel and start dragging it, and your problem is solved. Now let's talk about interpolating masks. So for that, I'm going to create a new composition. 1920 by 1080 is good, and I'm going to create a new solid. The shortcut for that is Control-Y, Command-Y if you are on the Mac, and I'll make it blue, and there it is, right? If I create a mask here, say a rectangle, and I want to interpolate it, you already know this, press M for mask, keyframe the mask path, and move the playhead. Here is the problem, right? If you change this to the selection tool and you click and drag, all of your points move. That's because they're all selected, because when you keyframe the mask path, all of your points were selected. So this is what you need to do. I'm going to undo that. Click outside. Click outside. See how they become deselected? And now click on the point itself. Just click on one. You can also click and drag to select more than one point, see? Problem solved. Now, what if I want to do something else? I want to have this onto a circle, for example. All you have to do is double-click the layer so that it opens in the Layer panel, and now see this drop-down menu that says Target None? Click on it and choose Mask 1, which is the only mask that you have, and now all you have to do is draw the mask. That's it. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a circle. And there you go. The next thing that we have with mask interpolations, and I'm going to go back to the composition panel, is that what if we have numbers, say 1, 2, 3. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger so that we can see them. And I'm going to leave them at Times New Roman. Why not? I'm going to right-click this, and I'm now going to go to Create, Masks from Text, and now I can delete that. M for mask, right? So I want for the 1 to turn into the 2 and for the 2 to turn into the 3. I just want some kind of like a morph or an interpolation, and these are now masks, but they live in 3 separate masks, so that's okay. If I want for the 1 to turn into the 2, I keyframe the 1, and then I'm going to copy the mask path of the 2 and paste it onto the mask path of the 1, and I'll do it twice so that the mask holds. Same with the 3, copy, paste it in here, and now you can delete masks 1 and 2, and this is what we have. We have the 1 that turns into the 2 and the 2 that turns into the 3. About the only thing is that this interpolation is very, very, very ugly, and I have the suspicion that even if I were to change the first vertex, it's not going to fix it much, but let's try it anyway. So here we go. We see the first vertex here, and I'm going to press the letter K, and now that first vertex is going to be here. So I'm going to leave it around here as well. So if I go to the previous keyframe is here, the next keyframe, I'm just going to select that 1 point. And now I'm going to go to Layer, Mask and Shape Path, Set First Vertex, and let's see what happens to that interpolation. Oh, that is much more beautiful. In addition to that, we have a mask interpolation panel. And here it is. I can select both of these. And I'm going to leave everything the way that I have it, which is the default. So keyframe fields is not selected, and use 1-to-1 vertex matches is also not selected. And this drop-down menu, I have it set to polyline. I'm just going to click on apply, and let's see what that interpolation does. And that is a thing of beauty. So problems with masks, move the points, draw the new mask, and copy the mask. If you don't like the interpolation, use the mask interpolation panel. Moving on, sometimes I get questions like, Luisa, I don't know where all my columns in my timeline went, blah, blah, blah. If that happens, you can right-click any of the columns and you can just show the ones that you want. There are also these icons on the bottom left that you can use to show more columns. If I want to have a position moving in time, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw here this circle. This is a shape layer. I'm just going to have it go in position. So P for position, from here to here to here to here. And it's not giving me automatic curves. That is a preference. So you can go to Edit, Preferences, General. On the Mac, it's going to be under After Effects, Preferences, General. Default spatial interpolation is not linear. That way you will get curves. I prefer curves, but now you still have these curves, so you can select all of these. You can right-click any of them. You can go to Keyframe, Interpolation, and under Spatial, choose either Bezier or Continuous Bezier, and you will get your curves. Now let's talk a little bit about shape layers. If I create a shape layer and say I put it here, look where the anchor point is. I want for the anchor point to be in the middle of the layer. Yes, there is a preference that does that. So Edit, Preferences, General, and it's right here. Center anchor point in New Shape Layers. But really, it doesn't affect this one. I don't want to draw it again. Ta-da! There is a shortcut. Press and hold Control or Command and double-click the anchor point tool. Done. It's now in the middle. And this works with any layer, not just shape layers. All right, the next thing is this. Oh, I want to mask this layer. Maybe I want it to look like a half moon or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And now I'm going to grab one of my masking tools and I'm going to draw. And I'm just drawing another shape. I'm just drawing another shape. And you can say, well, Luisa, you have to have the layer selected. I can select the layer and draw, and I'm still drawing another shape inside of that shape layer. So that's not it. I'm going to undo. Look at these two icons. This one will create shape, but this one will create a mask. So I can simply go here, click and drag, and I am masking. Now I want a half moon, or a crescent moon rather, so instead of add, I'm going to switch it to subtract, and voila, there you have it. If you want to interpolate the path of a shape layer, you would think it's an easy thing, right? So I'm just going to draw a star here. I'm going to make it yellow, because why not? And I'm not going to have a stroke, so there it is, and here's my star, right? If I want to interpolate those, I would go here to the polystar path, and there are things that I can keyframe, but there is nothing that tells me I can just move an individual point and do it like that. So even if I were to double click it, I just wouldn't see those points. So do this instead. If you know that you're going to be interpolating these points, draw the star again, and this time press and hold the Alt key as you drag. That's Option on the Mac. Now in here on the polystar, you're going to see the path, and you're going to see the path that you can keyframe. So I'm just going to keyframe it here, moving time, and now I'm going to change to a different point in time. I'm going to click on the word path again, and now I can select an individual point that I can move. And I can do this like any other interpolation. All right? You can even copy and paste. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And maybe I want to turn my star into a different star, right? So I'm going to select the layer. I'm going to press and hold the Option key. And I'm just going to have more points and more roundy, like yay, and that. And maybe I'll put it right above it, right? As you can see, I have two polystars now, and I have this path, and I can copy that path and paste it onto here. And now I can delete that one, and the interpolation happens automatically. And this is a shape layer. So I can add all of the things that are particular to a shape layer. Isn't that cool? The next thing is this. You find a project that looks pretty much like this, right? And you clearly have 4 or more layers, but when you look in the timeline, you don't see but one. A lot of the templates that you may buy come like this. That means that some of the layers are shy. That means this guy is turned on. All you have to do is click here, the layers appear, and now you can manipulate them any way you want. The next thing is this. You have what is clearly a vector layer, and you need to resize it. You need to make it far larger, right? And because it's vector, you think that it's not going to look pixelated, and it does. All you have to do is click on this little switch so that you can continuously rasterize. That's it. Looks like a little sunshine. This little light of mine, almost always, let it shine. Still on the shape layers, let's just go ahead and draw a rectangle and fill it up with a gradient, right? So there you go, and I have my gradient. As soon as I switch to my selection tool, I'm going to see these 2 points that let me edit the gradient. So convenient, right? And I can change the colors. If I don't want it to be black, I can change it to whatever. And there you go. But as soon as I click out of the layer and then I click back on it, that gradient editor goes away. Well, it's still there. All you need to do is go to the timeline and click on gradient fill, and your gradient little control points come back, and you can adjust the gradient however you want. You can even animate it. So you can animate the start and the end point. That's what these are called. And there you go. And your gradient animates. I'll do it a little bit faster so we can see it better. There you go. The next thing I want to talk about is compound effects. And a compound effect is an effect that needs a layer, a control layer, to work. And there are many different compound effects here in After Effects. So I'm going to start by creating a solid. The color doesn't matter. And now I'm going to add some particles to this. So particle playground. I'm going to move the cannon, the position, so that it's here at the bottom. And I'm going to turn gravity off. So the particles just float forever. And I'll turn the particles to white. And I need probably a heck of a lot more particles. Oh, that's beautiful. And now I'm going to put a wiggle expression on the direction of the particle. So wiggle, I just pressed and hold Option, and I clicked on the stopwatch. Now I'm typing the word wiggle, open parentheses, times per second, say 1, comma, oh, let's do 65 degrees. And this is what I have. And this is pretty good. Maybe I need more particles, and maybe I need for the particles to be slightly bigger, and maybe to spread a little bit more. All right, so that's pretty good. Now I'm going to add a blur to this, right? So effect, oh, I need to select the layer, effect, blur, and sharpen. And I'm very fond of the Gaussian blur, and I'm just gonna blur it until my particles turn to smoke. I think that was a little too much. And maybe something like this, right? Yeah, I like that. So this is going to be my control layer. I'm even going to rename this control layer. All right, so now I'm going to have another layer, say, of text. And this is just going to say smoke. And I want for the smoke to displace the text. So I'm going to go to the displacement map, right? So effect and preset. And I'm just going to type displace here. So this, actually, I don't even need to finish typing. And here's the displacement map. I'm going to add it here. This is a compound effect. So the displacement map layer is going to be the control layer. And it's not happening. It's not happening. And this happens time after time after time whenever you add an effect to the control layer of a compound effect. So what to do? Pre-compose it. Pre-compose it. The effect cannot be on this layer, but it can be on another composition. What is happening is that the compound effect cannot see any effects applied to the control layer. So pre-compose it. Pre-compose. Move all attributes into the new composition. And now this is going to be the control layer, and we're going to displace it like yay. And now the control layer doesn't even need to be visible. If you're having issues with a control layer, pre-compose it. So I'm just going to do a wiggle expression now on a circle, right? And there it is. And I'm going to have a solid fill, and it can be yellow. It doesn't really matter. So P for position, and I'm going to have a wiggle expression. So Alt or Option, click on the stopwatch and type wiggle. And frequency, so twice per second. At magnitude, this is position, so how many pixels? Let's say 200. And now I get my wiggle. The problem is that I either need to write the expression differently or something needs to give because I want to keyframe this wiggle. Well, you can. All you have to do is create a new layer, say an all object, call it slider control or anything that you want. And we're going to add an effect to this layer. Effect, expression controls, slider control, and there you go. We are going to now select the wiggle. We're going to double click the 200 to select just the number 200. In other words, the second number. And now we're going to pick whip to the slider of the slider control, and the expression gets written for us. So basically, we are saying, hey, wiggle 2 times per second, and for how much to wiggle, look at this value. And now we're going to keyframe that value so that it goes from 0 to 200, right? And then we're going to keyframe it again to hold it, and then back to 0. And guess what? We have just keyframed a wiggle. Well, this brings us to the end of this video. There are plenty of other tips that I have for you, but for now, I'm going to leave this video as it is. If you have any kind of issues or anything, please write it in the comments or shoot me an email. Here's my email address, and I'll be more than happy to create a tutorial for whatever it is that you need. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.